Assalamu alaikum. Suleiman Raheem here. Welcome. Let's slay some demons. Sisters and brothers, those of you who have been paying attention, I don't have to tell you, we see the angel unfolding. We see all the things that have been talked about unfolding right before our eyes. And it's going to get worse. Last year, the year started out with the plague. This year is starting out with insurrection. People are afraid, they're scared, nervous. They're about one breath away from martial law. They're expecting trouble in this so-called inauguration. We must start thinking our natural way mathematically. Like I've been saying, the Injil is a mathematical book. So is the Quran, all the scriptures. They're mathematical books. But they're written in prose, which means like common like language. In other words, every action has an opposite but equal reaction. That's the mathematical way. The prose way is you reap what you sow, or karma. That's the prose way of saying it. That's the difference between prose and mathematics. So it's written in prose because we would not be very familiar with mathematics because we've been, that the devil's mind room, they taught us not to think mathematically anymore. See? And taking everything off the math standard. Let's talk about that for a minute. Yes, standards. A standard means something like you measure things by. Like, for instance, a ruler is a standard. It says an inch is so long. So you measure everything. You say, okay, you go by what the ruler says. That's a standard. Someone set that standard and said an inch is this long. It's a standard. See? Or an hour. So many. Those are standards. But everything else is judged by those standards. Okay? Once you understand what a standard is. See? So, our standard for reality for trillions of years since the beginning, mathematics. Mathematics is the reality. Everything around you is based on mathematics. You can't find anything around you that you can touch, smell, see, or whatever is not governed by mathematics. That's not actually mathematics. See? All this so-called technology and everything, totally based on mathematics. No one prayed it into existence. No one prayed it into existence. So the idea is that 35,000 years ago, we was taken off the mathematical standard by Dr. Buddha. As we taught in the lessons, that was the first enemy to Islam, right? Enemy to mathematics. Islam is math. So you got to translate these things. Islam is mathematics, mathematics, Islam. That was the first enemy because you took everybody off the math standard. See? And so that was the first religion, not based on mathematics. So you took everybody out of reality. So then once you do that, you got all kinds of realities because they're not based on anything, just somebody's philosophy, somebody's feelings, whatever. And so you got all these realities that have no connection to the true reality. They become impudent. They can't produce anything. And they don't. Not one of them produce anything. Not Hinduism, not Buddhism, not Catholicism, right? Not Sunnism. None of them produce anything. Nothing. Because they was taken out off the mathematical standard. See, you have to understand that. So that's why all these religions are just superstition. They're meaningless. See? So what they tell you is that, oh, well, they introduce prayer. See, prayer is a reflection of how we used to communicate, which we will communicate like that again. We was able to communicate with each other telepathically. That's what they call it now. I would call it tuning in. See, so ask yourself a question: if we could communicate telepathically or tuning in, and the God is a man, He's one of us, then what would you need to pray for? You just tune in. He answer or he don't. It's like calling on the phone, right? You call somebody on the phone, right? Then what you gonna do? Pray for it. You gonna call them on the phone? Hey, I can just call. What you praying for? Call them. Some of this stuff really, it cracks me up. Sometimes I just spend days just I can't communicate because I just thinking about this stuff is Comedy Central. And it's so simple when you think about it. But it's not simple if your mind is corrupted. And they corrupt your mind two ways: physically with drugs. See, those they couldn't figure out. They couldn't figure out how to get some minds. See, some minds were waking up, so they couldn't figure out how to get it out with software. So with hardware, drugs. People understand that drugs is the other. That gets to the raw because you can destroy the hardware, and you don't need to worry about the software anymore because nothing will run. It just thing goes just freeze up on you. There's two attacks on us. I don't talk about that very much because it seems like that's pretty straightforward. But I mean, I can't assume anything because I was talking to a clown today. This guy walks around, his hair really nappy and stuff, and he looks like like he's homeless, right? And I talked to him. I think I mentioned it before, and he's talking about he's Moses, right? I mean, his hair like nappy. Like you remember that? What was that? Little Rascals. Remember what that little boy, the black guy, his name was? Yeah, like that, grown man. Sometimes I says, well, I mentioned to him the fact that that Africa is not being affected by this, and Exodus is playing out now and it happened in the past. He keep, oh no, man, that's past. I said, well, I saw him. I said, why don't you just prove, show me one instance that anything happened, any of that stuff happened in the past, just some evidence, and I'll just be quiet. Just show me any little evidence, anything happened in the past, because it seems to happen right before your eyes right now. I said, that's a big old sign that's not affecting Africa. I mean, that was a big old sign. We're going to talk about that in a minute. A big old sign. I mean, how can you get past that? The thing is that I was saying this, and I didn't know that it wasn't affecting Africa. I knew it from the scripture that it wasn't affecting black people, but nobody had publicized it that it wasn't affecting Africa. That didn't come until like a couple of months ago, and then they finally revealed it. I've been saying all the time, not that wasn't. I just said it wasn't affecting black people, original people. So it was passing over, and so they hid that. That was a big evidence right there that's affecting everybody else, but it's not affecting black Africa. See, that means it's not affecting us here either. See. So I said, and well, he got mad. Well, I don't need no evidence. Well, I said, okay, well, it's nothing me to talk to you about anymore, because you don't need any evidence. So what the hell are you talking about then? Why are you talking about you don't have any evidence? So, so are you going to convince people and you have no evidence, anything? So, because I'm not. This is going to be a lengthy kind of recitation. So I don't want to go off, get too far afield here. Um, um, so that's the situation. No, I don't have evidence. So okay, what's the point talking on that program anymore? See, because the book says, "Do not give your swine. Do not give your pearls to swine, otherwise they'll stamp on it and come back at you." Why is telling you? That means you don't be telling. You don't waste your time talking to demons and devils once you identify them. Because the only thing you can do is wake them up, then they come after you. Because what the truth you tell them is against them. It's not going to profit them. But then you woke them up now. Why would you wake up your enemy? If you catch them sleeping, you put them out, you make sure you don't wake up no more. You don't wake them up. Like in stupid movies, right? You got the gun, the person's at, and you keep doing all this talking until you sneak up on you, knock your ass out. I mean, If you already gone through them, do them. What are you talking about? All that stupid stuff. Like those movies. What's that guy's name? I can't think of his name. You know, the guy puts gum and he always got to walk, let him get close within touching distance. Hey, you still there? He lets him walk right up, right? Then this thing, that's so stupid. Anyway, um, only evidence. Only evidence. Okay. But that's what I'm saying. So that's why it says, in the hereafter, that won't be allowed anymore. See, because you have to think mathematically, and you can't be talking any other kind of stuff. See, because we got to get back on the mathematical standard. Because you're in the mathematical standard, all this crap goes away. See, because if you can't prove it mathematically, then you need to shut up, or you will be shut up. That's all the confusion. You see, because it took us off the mathematical standard, and then gave us prayer. See, because once you got the mathematical standard, then he gave you prayer. See, so now you thought you had power through prayer. So you get power through prayer. Just pray for it. Now tell me anybody's prayed up a Lamborghini, prayed up a laptop, prayed up any kind of science, prayed up any kind of technology. They say, well, I prayed, I got a car. No, don't do that. Don't get a car that's already there. Pray and then create a car. Bring one into existence that didn't exist before. Bring some technology that didn't exist before. Pray that up. Then you convince me. See, no, prayer is powerful, man. I prayed I got a house. No, don't do that. See? Just pray and let a house appear that wasn't there before. Or come with some technology that didn't exist before. Because all this technology, see, it didn't come from prayer. None of the laptops, cars, planes, bombs, atomic bombs, technology, telephones, iPhones, none of that came from prayer. Absolutely none of it. You can't show me anything come from prayer. None of it. Your medicines you take, surgery, none of stuff came from prayer. When you get cancer, you don't go, you might do some prayers, but you're going to a doctor. After you forget police, you head to a doctor. I guess your prayer told you, hey man, you got the answer you got. Hey God, I got cancer, help me. Take your ass to a doctor, fool. See, it's so silly. It's easy to dismiss that stuff. But you got hardcore people, hey man, you ain't gonna take me off a prayer. You want this antichrist, man. See, you the one that's trying to stop us from believing in God. Oh, you believe, I'm not trying to stop you believing in God, believing all you want. You want to believe in spirits and but you got me wrong here, brothers and sisters. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. You see me trying to convince anybody? Do you really think I'm trying to convince you? I'm just telling you the facts, true. You have to, that's your decision to decide. Like Elijah Muhammad said, every trouble will sell its own bottom. You decide what you're going to do with it. Okay? So, we can go in all the different aspects of the so-called society, but we talk about the reality part. See, because we're all out of touch of reality because we went off the mathematical standard. See? So now you have religions. Your religion is your software. Your religion is your software. I can't keep saying enough. Your religion is your software. See, democracy, that's a religion. That's a religion too. That's your software. All that stuff is what they call different names. That's, government. The government. I mean, it's all religion. It's all, that's your software. See? So, and your brain's your hardware. So that's your software. That's your software, period. See? So therefore, it's taken out of reality. It's taken out of mathematics. So, hey, you run all kinds of stuff. And none of it, all those philosophies and everything you come up with, none of it can produce anything, can bring anything to existence. You can't say be it. That's why I say Allah, he can say be it is, right? Because Islam is a correct religion. It's mathematics. But you can't say it. None of your religions can produce anything. Show me. Prove me wrong. So any one of them prove something, bring something to existence that wasn't in existence before. Some technology, anything that's based on prayer, that runs on prayer. Now bring in a laptop that runs on prayer, not electricity. Not electricity, run off prayer. Give me a car that runs off of prayer. All I got to do is pray and it moves. Don't need gas, it moves. Just come in a car. Bring me anything that runs off of prayer. One thing that runs off of prayer. Anything. Bring any technology in that runs off of prayer. You can't do it because it doesn't exist. So I'm going to leave that alone right there. So that's one thing. The another thing is that money. See, because that's where your power comes from, right? From mathematics. See, that's how they got powerful. Because the Europeans dropped prayer and went to the library, went to study mathematics. And now that's what you see. It brought this reality into existence. Off of mathematics, prayer runs nothing. They taught you prayer, see, because as long as you have prayer, they got control of you. See, because you're not going, because they know if you engage mathematics, you connect up with mathematics, you got a problem. Because now it's your mathematical power against their mathematical power. And if you got a better hardware than they have, they're in trouble. They know we have better hardware than they have. So that means they got to disconnect our hardware from software, from the reality, you understand? Because if we connect back up again, they're toast. And they know it. See? Because we can run more powerful mathematics. It's like pressure. The greater pressure, more lower pressure. The higher pressure, you put two pressures, the higher pressure is going to move the lower pressure. There's nothing that can do it. There's no math or science, whatever. Higher pressure moves lower pressure, period. 3 plus 5 equals 8, period. So if you have higher mathematics, it's going to destroy lower mathematics, period. Case closed on that one. So that's where the power comes from. They're taking your power from you by disengaging you from mathematics and giving you religion. See? Sunnis too. They said they connect religion, not. They're not. They connect to reality. No, they some religion. They they're not connected to reality. Sunnism is not based on mathematics at all. None. There's no mathematical foundation to it at all. Zero. So then, now you go to value. See, because that's how he tells you. He says, okay, so how you reward? So you got to have value. We have reward. See, we never had money before Dr. Yakub. That's reward process. Because you got to reward the people you're ruling. So you got to make them think you give them something. See, because in mathematics, reward comes from your deeds. You understand? You work, right? And you get, you get value from every action has opposite equal reaction. So you get value from what you do. Consequence. You see? So the more you put in, the more you get out. See? So therefore, you don't need any God or any somebody, it's your works, period. Because that's what, when it talks in the Quran about Allah, it's talking about Allah in the sense of mathematics. But they have to teach you in a simple way because they know your children. Well, there's a person, there's somebody that can see everything you see, do everything you do, watch you 24 hours, 24/7, control everything. See, I have to tell you that way. I like to talk to a child. But it's just mathematics. Because if he's a righteous God, just God, that's just math. That's what justice is. Equal sign. But if you got 5 on one side, you got 5 on the other side. It's just an equal sign. So they have to teach you that way, because they know we'll be children and with a devil's mind. So now they come up with another thing. See, take you away from that. See, to get you under control, because you never need anybody to control you. Oh, we had organizations. We had people manage different levels because we built an organization. But there was no coercion. There was tyranny. Nobody was forced to do anything they didn't want to do. Because that's why I say you don't have to force your heart to do what it does. You don't have to force your eye does what it does. It does it because that's what it wants to do. It's nature to do it. And you have nobody be forced to do anything because we will reduce the people is automatic because I keep explaining we're a body. And we have foot cells, eye cells, brain cells, butts. We got it all. And you got people that all they want to do is think. You got people all they want to do is farm. You got people all they want to do is clean. All the people want to do is they want to fish. You understand? So all the people want to do is want to teach. That's all they want to do. And that's in here. If you do exactly what you want, that's your paradise, that's your heaven, that's your reality. You do exactly what you want. So there's nobody, but there's people, you have to take guides. Say, okay, we're trying to build something. We got to work together. You understand? But no bosses. It's like we have a body, but we have a brain to guide the body. And they're not in conflict with each other. So then they had to come to this idea, well, how are we going to control the people if we reward them and make think that we had the power? Power's coming from us, you see. So they took money that come with money. There was no idea of money before that. We didn't have it. And we didn't trade at all to any extent. It was bartering. But that's a whole different story. So that gets into, you have the economy and all that kind of stuff. There's no social, all that kind of crap. None of that stuff will be there. So come with money, which is an illusion. Remember, religions are illusions. Religions are illusions. And so is money's illusion. So it makes you think, okay, are you a good boy? I'm going to give you $1 million. But the balance says we all have the same amount of energy. Once you understand pressure, we all have the same amount of energy, period. That's the way it is. That's the balance. That's the way pressure works. In a pressure system, everybody has the same amount of force, the same amount of energy, period. Now, it's the difference how the energy is used. Some people require more energy than others, right? So that means they have to use more energy to sustain their body. That means they have less to do other things with. Some people have less, so they have more. That's how Adam was powerful, because he didn't need much energy to maintain himself, so he had more energy, exposed energy. That's how he used to control everybody. So, but this thing is, if everybody's got have $1,000, right, and you give this person 2,000, okay, that's an injustice. So now he's got $1,000 worth of negative energy. He only got 1,000. See, so if you give him 2,000, he got $1,000 worth. He might have $1,000 worth of positive, but he got 1,000 worth of negative energy. Is not notifying that, right? Because you can't have more than what you're supposed to have, so it'll come out the same thing. If you only can have 10, somebody give you 12, right? That means you'll have a -2. Because it's still got to come out to 12. See? I mean, still got to come out to 10. So 12 minus 2, right, equals 10. That's all. So you get, oh man, see, you gave me more money. But then you got cancer, all the kind of stuff that you don't understand where you get from, because you didn't really accomplish anything. When you steal, you don't accomplish anything, because all you do is create negative energy for yourself. So you got all kinds of other problems that you don't, that come up. You might be cultivating a cancer. You might see it immediately, or you might not see it. You might cultivate a cancer, you'll see it 10, 20 years later, keep on doing that same old thing, right? And then eventually, boom, once you see it, as Jesus said, once you see it, then it's too late. So it came with money. See? Has nothing to do with, a consequence. Action, every act has equal action. Is there a reward? So now you listen to them, you submit to them, they're rewarding you. And it's an illusion. And then it made it worse in the last century, because you get because at that time it was based on something. It was a standard to it, right? That was gold. And that had been like that for 1,000 years. Gold money was, so you had something that you could relate it to, some kind of material, something that people recognize as valuable. But then when they took it off the gold standard, right? That's what Nixon did. Then it means anything they want it to mean. Money can be whatever value they want it to be. You see? That means it's an illusion. It's an illusion. So they give you money, and I said, remember, everything has a balance out? They give, but you have a debt. So you really don't have anything. You think you have things, you have nothing. And stuff wears out. See? And so we're still slaves. All they did was say, okay, we're going to give you a salary now. That you still got to pay for all the stuff we was giving you before. So you're still working on the plant. They still need a job. So you're still doing exactly what you was doing before. Only thing is you think you're free now because they're paying you to buy that chillings, to buy that stinky food they was giving you, right? And the junky clothes and a raggedy apartment, right? And a car to get back to the field to get to work. Nothing's changed. Only illusion. They upgrade the illusion. Just upgrade the illusion. They upgrade, say, hey man, this illusion ain't working, unless we upgrade it. So you have to upgrade, things. Well, we ain't back up. No, because if the masses poor, you eating chillings, right? If the master got a dog, and the master poor, the dog's eating dog food. But the master gets rich, the dog start eating hamburgers. It ain't the difference ain't the same. The difference is still no difference. They upgrade the illusion. And so you ain't no better off than you was for it. They upgrade illusion and you still going for it. Just like Christianity, all that kind of stuff. All these illusions. You're in the belief matrix and you don't even know it. That's why I said that book, that movie, The Matrix, boy, it was very revealing. And you don't even know they was talking about you. See? They got a way of telling you things without telling you so you can sit back and laugh. Like telling the dog, I'm gonna put you down, the dog just wagging his tail. Look at that stupid dog. Remember when he put his ass down, he wagged his tail? So he's kissing and everything on the grave, burning his ass up. That's what they're getting ready to do. They said it will come as a snare to those who dwell upon the earth. Those who understand angel knows what that means. That means they all this whole democratic party is they got a plan to get you, and the only thing they made the reason why they're so angry at Trump is because he's screwing their plans up. Because abortion, sending jobs overseas, right? Putting your children, kids in prison. All these was designed, right, to keep your population down or destroy it. Abortion, that's right, direct. Over 22 million dead. The baby slaughtered in Margaret Sanger's slaughterhouses. And she said she started Planned Parenthood for that very purpose. So why would they want, they tell me, he's a Hitler. Why would they want to celebrate that woman? And she said, that's why she said Planned Parenthood. She said it. Go read Google and take my word for it. That's why she established it, to get rid of niggers. Period. It says you're going to try to use the black leaders to convince them to abort their children. So you got totally 22 million gone already. It's in your job, they'll see that means you can't afford it now. I can't afford it, bitch. When they take birth control, that's killing them, right? Put your sons in prison. They can't produce any bit. See, you don't get it. And they got they got illusion. That's why I said it says those. It says what he said would give you strong delusions. What you think that means? It said in scripture. It said those that would not listen to the truth, God gave them strong delusions. There's no more people deluded than those people, black folks, voting for the Democratic Party. How more delusional can you possibly be when it's so obvious? I mean, and you can, Ray Charles is dead and blind. He can see that. Man, they're killing you. They only legalized marijuana because they found out blacks more and more susceptible to stroke from taking marijuana. They found out things, they legalize it. But now you got black folks getting strokes all over the place. You noticed that? Have you been checking out? I bet you most of you out there got a friend that had a stroke lately. I know a couple already. See? And you can't and you better not say nothing to these folks. I don't want to hear it. They said those that didn't want to reject the truth, God would send us strong delusions. And so you're very delusional. You're in an illusion. All this stuff is one big illusion, and you stuck right in, and you can't prove none of it. You can't prove any of the stuff they're telling you is correct. None of it. So that was the purpose of money to take over gold standard. Now it really, so now you think you got this. You had nothing. You go, oh man, I could buy a big house with a big mortgage. And by the time you pay the mortgage off, you pay 5 times as much as the house was worth anyway. See? And you got to work twice as hard for master now on the plantation, right, to pay off that house. And you don't get it? See? I got this fancy car. What you use that car for? 90% of it is to get back to the plantation and do out in the fields to pick the cotton. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't even need the car. Yeah, brothers, I got quite a few things I want to talk about, so I'll talk about that. And I could talk about that for a long time, but I'm going to maybe dedicate a whole presentation to that. But I got a lot of things I want to cover. I said it's going to be kind of lengthy, so let me move on. So let's move on and see what we have here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this transition. Now, I'm not going to talk a lot about it here, just going to mention a few things. But like I said, America is at a crossroads. It has to change. Hope you understand that situation. It's not a situation where it might change, it would like to change. We understand pressure. It has to change. The pressure is so great on it right now that it has to change. It's like when you take and you put water in your freezer, right? If you put it in, sooner or later, it's going to transform to ice. And that's at this threshold point. Once it gets cold, it's going to transform to ice, period. There's nothing you can do about it unless you just turn the refrigerator off. See? Because the cold, it keeps getting colder and colder and colder. Then suddenly, bam, it transforms into ice. Same thing with boiling water on the stove. You put water in it, right, in the pot, you put it on the stove, you turn the heat on. Eventually, it's going to boil. Once it reaches threshold, it's going to transform into something else. That happens. So the world is increasing in pressure, right? We talk about the momentum in heaven's earth. We get the pressure, the energy waves every 50,000 years. Aside from that, just look at it from a population point of view, right? It's put more pressure on the earth. So the point is, at what point, you understand, does America come to its pressure threshold where it has to transform? That's the pressure. We saw it happen back in the so-called dark ages, right? Where they was under pressure from Islam for 1,000 years. And then they reached the threshold point, which was called the Renaissance. They was able to transform. And the only thing is, once you reach that point in time, right, your threshold, so one or two things can happen. It's either positive transformation or negative. So it's a constructive transformation or a destructive transformation. A constructive or destructive. Constructive means to transform into a structure that's strong enough to handle that transformation. That means pressure is not, it doesn't feel the pressure anymore, like a diamond. Coal becomes harder, so now it doesn't feel the pressure anymore. Or it can be crushed to dust. And we know from scripture that they've reached their last last point where they have the ability to transform. They can't they have to transform, but they can't have a positive constructive transformation. They came to expiration date with 6,000 years, and they transformed several times, and they ran out of ability to transform, right? I mean, to transform constructively. The last one was the Renaissance. So now now they're time for another reconstruction, right? Which will take them down. They will crush to dust, but they're gonna try to take you with them. So that's what you're seeing. So you saw a situation where when something's under pressure, right? It tries to transform. It tries to transform. It makes an attempt to transform. See, and if it can't, then it's crushed. And that was Mr. Trump's role. He tried to transform America from within. See? But see, when it comes to so-called thinking beings, you have a choice in the transformation, which is you can transform if it's possible, or you can try to destroy that which is causing the transformation. See, like coal. Say, for instance, you have coals under the earth and all this pressure on it. And say the coal had the ability to get rid of earth. That means then it wouldn't have to transform, right? Because there was no pressure on it anymore. If you get rid of the earth, you get rid of the pressure that was causing it to transform, then it wouldn't have to transform. That's the other possibility. And that's America's possibility. America either transform all the pressures the nations are putting on upon America, internally and externally, because we have a nation within a nation, right? So they can either get rid of the pressures that's causing them to transform, right? Or transform, but since they can't transform constructively, right? Then that means they will be crushed to dust. See? So their only option for America is, right, either just lay down and die and be crushed to dust because they can't transform to a great transformation. The only option is, right, is to get rid of the pressures that's causing them to transform. That means go to war with the nations and destroy the nations that are putting pressure upon America. That's the only choice they have if they want to survive. But they tried to they tried to transform internally. That was Trump. And he failed. And you see, every action has opposite but equal reaction. That means the more force you apply to transform, the more resistance you're gonna have. And he had total resistance. They were still resistant. Yes, they want to blot him out of the universe, blot him out of existence, like he never even existed. You never seen any resistance, any president like this, because America is under so much intense pressure. See, and they got to transform, right? He was trying to transform internally, but America didn't have the ability to do it again. They can't transform constructively, and that's what he was trying to do. But he's being crushed out of existence. You never seen anything like this before. That's why when you understand mathematical point of view, you understand what's going on. This is exactly what the angel's telling us. See, so what that means. See, because by him failing, that means now America's starting to feel the pressure. See, because he was trying to cause, that means he was trying to ease the pressure by doing the transformation, though he wouldn't be able to do it. But in the process of trying to do it, see, so I was easing some of the pressure, the external pressure, because that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to ease the external pressure by trying to reform America within, right? So he put sanctions on everybody else, all that kind of stuff to try to get, he was trying to, let's try and make America great. When he said America first. See, forget about all that stuff out there. America first. Because he's trying to transform within, see? But that shows you America doesn't have the ability to do that anymore. That's why he's crushed. America has an ability to transform constructively anymore, see? And that shows, but if he's been successful, that means he would have transformed America. America would have the ability, it could last maybe another 500 years. If he had succeeded. But America doesn't. It's too much pressure. America has reached a pressure threshold, and so you always have a person that comes, the seed that causes it. You always have, you have to have a seed, right? That's going to cause the transformation. It starts there, and then it grows. He was the seed, but he wasn't powerful enough. You understand? To come up with an organization, the organized American way, right? That it could withstand the pressures. That's why he's crushed to dust. He's crushed. They're crushing him. They don't realize what they're doing. See, but he's crushed. He's being crushed because what that's saying is America doesn't have the ability to reconstruct themselves, reconstruct in a positive, organize in a positive construction. That's what it's saying. America doesn't have the ability to reorganize to a positive construction that can withstand the pressures that's upon it. That's what that's saying mathematically. America doesn't have the ability to in other words, you have coal that doesn't have the ability to transform into a diamond, but it has to transform. That means instead of transforming to a diamond, it's crushed to dust. So instead of America transforming to something more powerful, a strong organization, right? It's being crushed to dust. That's what you're seeing before your eyes. And when that happens, it happens simultaneously, instantly. Because you take a piece of coal, you put it in the ground. I mean, coal's in the ground under pressure. It's under pressure for billions of years. But the transformation comes all of a sudden. See? Once it reaches that threshold, I mean, the pressure's on it, and it's growing on that pressure for billions of years. But then suddenly, it turns into a diamond. The transformation comes suddenly. That same thing. That's when I say, America, right? They're the threshold. So what's about to happen will happen suddenly. That's why I said it will happen suddenly overnight. You understand? I'm trying to show you how the angel is mathematical book. That's what it's telling you. It's telling you in a prose way, but it's mathematical. That's why I say this will come of a sudden. It says that doom will come in one day, meaning 1 year. See? So what you're witnessing is America's failure to be able to reorganize to a stronger, right, organization, stronger structure. That's what you're witnessing. They don't understand that. So the only option they have right now is to destroy the pressure like the coal. Hey, I'm getting ready to crush the dust. Hey, but if I can get rid of the earth, then I don't be no pressure on me, I don't have to crush. That's the only result they have is to take and destroy that was pushing, go to war. That's the only choice they have. That's the only way, only choice they have to survive. They have to go to war, destroy that which causing the pressure. That's inner pressure. That's us. Also the demons. Demons trying to reconstruct. You see with them out there riding all kinds. They want transformation. They want a different one than we want. But we're growing. So by us growing, anything you could grow, that means you're growing. That's a force, right? And it means resistance. Resistance is America. America doesn't want. You saw what Elijah was doing, Elijah Muhammad was doing. If he had kept growing, right, and we kept growing as a nation, we'd have transformed America. Because America was totally different. The women was acting different. The brothers was acting different. We had a whole different lifestyle, a whole different idea, right? So we kept growing. That means that would have been changing the way America is. America didn't want to change like that. That was totally opposed to everything America's all about. We running around naked and eating pork and drinking and smoking all kind of stuff, and we wasn't doing any of that stuff. That means you got two cultures in conflict with each other. And if ours kept growing, that means it's going to change theirs. They didn't want that. So as soon as Elijah was gone, they crushed it out of existence. They crushed that out of existence. See? So that's the situation. See? Hope you understand that. That's what you're looking at. So that means only thing Biden can do, he has to go to war. And we're going to see it in a minute. See, we're going to talk more about that in a little minute as we go further into this. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. Okay. Okay, one other thing I want to talk about here. Just think about Farrakhan. Now they had me in tears, boy, over this boogaloo boy stuff. See, the difference between what's happening in Africa, which is immune to this, is untouched by this virus. Every continent on the planet, every other people, every other ethnic group is being taken down by this virus, except Africa. See, and they hid that for a long time. I've been talking about. I said it was passing over us, right? I didn't have the proof. My proof was scripture, and they was hiding the proof. The proof is right there, right in front of our eyes. It's not affecting us. But so, well, black folks are dropping like flies, and so Wesley, Dr. Wesley, the clown, Farrakhan's little puppet. Well, trying to get explanation. It's a very simple explanation. Because we have demons here. Ninja tells half the black people in America are demons. It's the demons that's dropping like flies. They get the same, they've been affected the same thing as their daddies. Original people are not. That's the difference. It's very simple. Had nothing to do with Boogaloo Boys or anybody else. But see, they can't say that. And they can't talk about Exodus. And they can't talk about demons. Because that would be a stake right through Lion Farrakhan's heart. Because then they have to explain what happened to Aaron. See? And explain about 1619, 2019, how come he missed the COVID plague that happened in 2020 that would kill the firstborn? I mean, the elderly. And they had to explain about the demons. You can't talk about demons. You never talk about demons because they didn't have to explain what a demon is. See, a demon are black folks that's a result of rape of black women by massa. So they're really massa's children, not our children, not original people. They just got black skin, but they're massa's children. They're demons, and they're a product of rape. And so is Farrakhan. Farrakhan, daddy was white, Caucasian, period, and he raped his mother. See, that was his original story, but now he keeps changing. I mean, he didn't mention that after Elijah Muhammad left, but he did. No FY, NMT would have gave him the time of day. But he revealed after Elijah Muhammad left. See, but now he's changing. See, because they talk about one drop of black blood makes you black. It might make you black, don't make you original. See, so he's a demon. Same thing, raped by modern day demon, raped by the devil. That's why his mother tried to abort him 3 times. See, she was not successful. I think she should try the 4th time. You understand? So that's why he won't talk about demons. He won't talk about Exodus. Let's distort it. If he does, he doesn't mention Aaron. See? Or if he does, he lies about Aaron. See? Because we have videos on that. So I thought I'd mention that. See, because he's a demon. He's the son of perdition that will rule for 40 years. His time is up. His time is over. Okay, I thought I'd mention that. So let's move on into our presentation. Yeah, I guess, yeah, okay, we're moving our presentation. I'm moving more into it. Since we'll be here for a little while. For those of you that's interested in this kind of information, we'll be here for a while. Okay, so we're going to talk about 2021 and which we can expect in 2021. This year of the resurrection, the year of insurrection and resurrection. And just like 2020 started out with a plague, 2021 started with insurrection. And they're worried about more of it. People's on edge. The country's on edge. They're nervous. The whole House of Representatives was threatened, right? And so they're nervous. They're on edge. We got a bogus impeachment going. They're nervous. They're nervous about the two countries divided against itself. Half the country is against the other half. Not a little bit, dramatically, because Trump has half the country. They want reorganization, but they don't realize it doesn't matter because they're at a crossroad. America's at a crossroad. But both paths leads to hell. There's no out for them. Only out for them is get rid of that was causing the pressure. And that's why they have to go to war. They're going to war soon. So that's 2021. Now, what I'm telling you what we expect this year. The year of insurrection, year of resurrection. So the things we're going to talk about is going to kind of outline what we expect in 2021. That's what the purpose of the Angel is. You understand my purpose is to make you aware of what to expect this year. So let's go. Change something here. Okay, there you go. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit here about something interesting. Like I said, I don't particularly like talking to you about the book of Daniel because it's harder for me to explain the book of Daniel to you, the last couple of chapters, that is. And I don't want to go into details about that, but even the chapters themselves say there was an issue. There's nothing wrong with it, but you need a strong grip on the angel to try to understand those last couple of chapters of Daniel. So I'm going to give you this little hint here. See. Now I could talk about the first parts. I do talk, a little bit incidentally about the first parts of Daniel, which is it's very powerful. I mean, I could talk to you about those things, but the angel covers much of it. And so sometimes I do have a couple of videos that speak directly about Daniel. And so I use some of the information from Daniel from time to time because there's one particular thing I'm talking about here that comes from Daniel. I mean, you need some of that because Daniel, when you understand the book of Daniel, Daniel has 12 chapters, but there's a 13th chapter. What's the 13th chapter? The 13th chapter of Angels is the 13th chapter of Daniel. Because you look at all the characters, symbols that are in Daniel, right, are mentioned in chapter 13, the only place. They talk about the leopard, the bear. That's the only place in the angel that leopard and bear, right, are mentioned, right, and they're only mentioned in Daniel. So that's a little bit of information that you might be interested in. But they're talking about the king of the north and the king of the south. Now it's hard for me to identify that to you from the angel. I identify it from Daniel, but then I have to go into a lot of detail to get you to understand one, who's the king of the north, who's the king of the south. Anyway, just This proceed. We're going to proceed here. Accepted or rejected. The king of the north is Iran, and the king of the south is America. And they're talking about this agreement. It said, and at the end of years, that means at the end of time. We're at the end of time now. If we're in a time we're impressing trouble, that means we're in this time right now. Say, join themselves together. What do you mean join themselves together? That sounds kind of interesting. And the daughter of the king of the north south shall come, and the daughter of the king of the south. See, this is very complicated stuff. See, I'm not, like I said, I could spend hours just talking about this verse right here. Because it's talking about a black woman. Now I'm talking about Kamala Harris, because she's not black. They said daughter of the king of the south. So you gotta understand what they mean when they say daughter and that stuff. The king of the south means Miss America. So it's a black woman they're talking about. See? But it's not talking about Kamala Harris because she's not black. She, right, in this sense, she's Indian and a Brahmin at that. So you ain't talking about her. Anyway, it says, daughter of the king of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. That means some kind of agreement they're going to make, right? But she's going to fail. Something's going to happen to her. So look forward to that, because we're going to talk about that. Because see, right now, Mr. Biden says he's going to try to resume that agreement with Iran. See? So that's what it's talking about, agreement. That JCPOA agreement, that's what they're talking about there. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit further. We get further into this a little bit, right? See? In fact, actually, I'm talking this right here. So we're going to talk about that right now. See, that's not going, see, it's telling you it's going to fail because if you understand the Injil, I've been telling, like I said, it's always in front of your face all the time. So I got right, see right here what I'm saying, JCPOA right there? That's where it says, that's the point in time where it says the witnesses will be under the feet of the nations for 42 months or 3.5 years. That happened. That means they'll be trampled under the nations. That means they were under control of the UN. The UN represents all the nations. So Iran was under control of them from 2015 to 2018 to the middle. That means that was 3.5 years. That's 42 months until Trump abrogated his agreement with them. That's right there. I mean, that's history. You can Google that one. That's what it meant, right? And then after that, right, it says the spirit of the God will come to them, and we know the demons represent the spirits, right? So let's move to the next one. So there it is right there. And it said during this time, right, they will be smite the earth with plagues, often they will. So that's during this time, right? With this period of time, that's when the plague would hit Europe. You hear me saying now, you heard Mr. Wesley say, well, the plague came from Iran. Well, that's what I've been saying all the time. See, he's trying to steal, right? I say all the time, says it came from Iran. It says it came from Farad. He said in 2020, right, after the 40 years, he would bring this plague upon Egypt, upon the Europeans, specifically America, that would kill the firstborn or the elderly. See? And Injil tells that it'd be from Iran. So they will smite the earth. Many earth represents the European countries. Smite them as often as they wish. So it's during this period of time, because this period of time will last for 2 years. That means late 2018, right, to late 20, to late 20. That'd be 2 years. See, so the plague will start with them during that period of time, which it did. See. So after Trump broke the agreement, that means Iran and Syria is pushing up. So that's the wind they're talking about. So they're moving up. The pressure's building. Because they call it like a wind. So the wind is blowing. And this wind will be blowing, it continue blowing until it shakes America. In other words, they go to war. And you see tensions getting hotter and hotter and hotter. That's what they're telling you. Tensions getting raising. We're telling you. So the point is that when they go from here, what does the Injil say they go from here? The war. The war is the next thing. The war's the next thing, where America, Britain, and false Israel is kicked out of the Middle East. That's the next thing. So, this is what you need to take out of this. This is what you need to take from this, right? Biden says he wants to rejoin the JCPOA. I just read about Daniel says they're going to try to make an agreement, and the agreement will fail. That means, and they end up going to war. That means for them to go, that means if you watch the injury, that means they would have to go backwards to get back under the rule. And they said they're moving forward. That's interesting. So that means the agreement is not going to happen. That's your takeaway. You understand? Let's go back and look at it closely, right? And this is what this sequence of events. This was when they was in the JCPOA, right? For 3.5 years, right? Until Trump got rid of it in mid 2018, right? Then the plague started, right? So for them to go back to for him to get the JPOA going again, they had to go backwards. You understand? They had to go backwards. They had to be in that position again. That means it's not going to happen. But he said as soon as he becomes president, that's what he's going to try to do. See? But they're there now. So if they don't go to JCPOA, that means they have to go to war. You understand, brothers and sisters? I told you as we get closer and closer, I explain it more clearer. That's what it's telling you. They're going to try to make the agreement, it's going to fail. Now who's this black woman? Interesting. See? Now I don't know if maybe I haven't studied deep enough, but I don't think it's Kamala Harris because she's not black. When they talk about the daughter of the king, see, when they talk about their arm and stuff like that, you got to understand all those symbols. They don't just say her arm, they mention arm, so you got to understand what that means. And that's talking about a black woman of African descent. Now maybe Kamala Harris, maybe of African descent, I don't know it. I haven't checked the genealogy, you understand? But it's talking about a black woman is involved in it somehow. Okay? We're going to break down 2021 before it happens. That means he's got to go back to JCPOA. That was kept Obama from going to war with them, right? See, and when Trump did it, they put sanctions on him when he broke out, so they had to stop him, hold him back on that one, right? And then they said, now I'm increasing that range of 20 to 20%. That means it's even worse. Everybody's really worried now. So he says he wants to get back to that agreement. If they don't go back to that agreement, that means America's got to go to war. And this is going to happen as soon as he be inaugurated. Think about that, brothers and sisters. I said it was before your eyes all the time. I talked about this JCPOA, everybody watching, I talked about it, right? And so if you pay attention to what he's saying, you should say, hey, wait a minute, that's not going to happen. Because the angel said that's not going to happen. So I'm just making it clear to you. See, that's why I say you need to study, brothers and sisters. But I don't expect you to understand as much as that. No, I've been over 30 years. I don't expect you to be any. If you do, boy, you're a genius now. I love it. If you catch up with me already, I love it. I have no problem with that. In fact, I hope you surpass me. That's what you want your children to do, right? Don't you want you to be better than you? You're going to be jealous of your children? I would love any one of you out there to go past me. I can sit back and relax and watch you do it. See? I'd be glad to hand torch off to you. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Okay, let's move on. Oh, now this is another one here. Now what I'm showing you here is, I'm going to do a couple of things here to show you how powerful the angel is. See, I said before your eyes all the time. Now see here, this is, when they talk about Samson. Now, Samson is a demon. He went to slavery like we did. He was deceived and everything, but he was a demon. He got his hair back, got his strength back, but didn't get his eyes back. He wasn't original, right? But he wanted revenge. So once he got his strength back, right, he positioned himself between two pillars. See? And that's what you see right there. The two pillars are Gog Wait a minute, I gotta check. I made a mistake on this one. I don't know how I always check this stuff out. Okay, let me check this. This is wrong. This is wrong. Oh, but let's just hold on here. Okay, there you go. Let me put it straight here. There you go. Now you see here, this is the idea of Samson. See, he positions himself between two. See, Samson represents the demon, right? That's the Christian blacks, those two, that's also called the locusts. That's going to tear his country apart. It's going to be a locust plague. There was two locust plagues, right? There's two locust plagues. The first one was last year, 5 months. Next will be this year. But this one's going to be totally disastrous for America. It's going to bring it down because America is going to be at war externally with Europe and China and India, and they're going to be destabilized inside because you have these black Christians. They're going to tear this country apart. See? They're mad at Massa. Massa wouldn't accept them. Massa tried to take them out. So you're going to have a big race war here in America with them, not us. We're going to be gone. So that's where they possess themselves between the two pillars. See? And push them down and destroy them and brought itself down the process. That's what's talking about when the demon-possessed man, the demons, right? They ran. He said, we want to stay here without, don't take us out of the land. We want to stay here. And they ran into the swine with their swine daddies, and they went to fight it and went off the cliff together. That's what it's talking about. Okay, so I just thought I'd point it out. See, because you need the angels to explain all this stuff. Okay, we're going to talk about the word. Now it says, beginning was the word, and the word was with God. What does that mean? See, we're going to talk about that a little bit. The words are pressure. See, it's pressure waves, sonic waves, called sonic pressure waves. The words are, because everything is about pressure. If you was out where there's if you was out of space someplace, right? Because there's not that much pressure, so therefore, nobody would hear you, right? So you need air, right? Come out your lungs. It's pressure waves. So it's telling you in the beginning was the word. The beginning was pressure, but the pressure but the word was with God. See, so God and the word was the same thing, pressure. I'm going to tell you, we are the gods. We're the universe. The universe is us, period. And it's always been here, always will be here. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. It has always been here, it's always been here, always will be here. See, we're the God. And they trying to disconnect, that's the whole thing, we're trying to disconnect us with our creation. We're the God. See, we're the Word. We've always been here, we'll always be here. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So these things, the Bible tells you these things, and it's under veil, but it says written in prose, so you don't. But I'm trying to show you the mathematics of it, because that's what word, in the beginning was the word, the beginning was pressure. Pressure was with God. So God and pressure is the same thing. We're the universe. We're the gods of the universe. Why I say, for I tell us, maker, owner, creator of the planet Earth, God of the universe. We are literally the God of the universe. There's nothing else. There's no spooks and spirits out there. There's us. The word's pressure. And we gave form to the word. Because just like, blah, 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 you can blabble. There's still words, right? But when you have language, it means you give form to the word. So we gave form to the universe. That's why when God introduced himself to Moses, he says, I am that I am. Because that's the most profound thing you can say. Because it just is. There's no reason or rationale. Nobody created us. We just are. That's just the way it is. That's just mathematics, period. We always have been here, always will be here. See? The word. So we're going to talk more about this as we move along. Now I want to talk a little bit about force and pressure is the same thing. Force and pressure, same. Pressure is just a more voluminous way of force. Same thing. It's like you spread force out. Just force spread out. Like if you put if you take this, right? You take this is force, right? One spot. But once you do that, that's all that force spreads out, right? Throughout the whole envelope here. So now you call it pressure. It's just spread out. Still the same thing. Now once you hit it here, right? That spreads out. So now you call it pressure. It's just spread out. That's all. It's the only difference. So you're talking about atoms, right? You take atoms and they're normally separated apart. They have a field, I'm not going into the details, that keeps them apart. So it takes a lot of force to push them together. That's why the only way you can make atoms is in the core of stars. Under like the sun, our sun can produce a helium atom, which is only 2 protons and 2 neutrons. See, but like a uranium atom has hundreds of protons. That takes a superstar, 1,000 times bigger than our star, right? To make something like that, because the pressure needs to be so great to produce something like that. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to show you force here. Okay. Let's see. When you now you take and you have to take enough. Once you enough force to push it together, it takes a tremendous amount of force to push them together, right? Once you push together, right, they'll come back apart unless you find something that will absorb that force, right? And so that's where neutrons are. They absorb. I'm not going into all the details. They absorb that, so that means that the atom will stay together now. See, I'm not going into details, but I'm just trying to show you. So now all that force is in the atom. All that force that pushes is in the atom. If you take those neutrons away, all that force, they're going to fly back apart again. The neutrons like kind of hold them together. Once you pull those away, that's how they make atomic bombs. They move the neutrons. And just so all the protons fly back away at super speeds, the speed of light, basically. Well, I'll leave, not really speed of light, but they move away very fast. That's what's a nuclear explosion. You have millions and millions of atoms, right? That's what they take. That's why you have so much uranium. You have to have enough uranium, enough, right? And that uranium, you have billions and billions and billions of atoms in there. All of them split at the same time. Bam, you got a super explosion. See? But the point I'm trying to make here is you got all that energy stored up in there. You understand that? Okay, let's move on. So, you have to ask yourself, why does God or whoever, right, the scientists or whoever, why do they send one person Just one person, one prophet, if a prophet or a messenger, just one with a book. Don't say them with guns, knives, spears. One person with that. See? Because what's happening is that you have simple atoms, right? Like helium, 1, 2 protons, whatever, one or hydrogen, hydrogen. You have more complicated. The more complicated has more pressure to take inside of them, right? So they send these books, and you can find out how much, because the way they write them, they don't write them clearly. They write them like how a metaphorical language, um, different, complex language, right? Allegorical language, complex. They seal it. When they say seal it, or they put that, those, the Quran has that allegorical language. That's a form of sealing, because otherwise you got to figure it out. That means all that energy stored in it. See, because with that kind of language, you have a lot of information stored in there. So if you just say straightforward, this is just like a simple atom. So it's not going to. But the more complex it is, that means the more energy stored. That means it's more powerful. I call them atoms. A-T-T-O-M, not A-T-O-M, A-T-T-O-M. That's what these scriptures are. That's why the angel is the most powerful in it all, because it takes all that energy. That's why it's so complicated. That's why it was so sealed so tight, because all that energy was sealed up in it. Because they know once you take us word is what we respond to. Word affects it. Everything is pressure. So that means these words, right? Because our brain responds to that pressure. Because our brains are pressure vessels, right? So they know that this pressure, right, is greater than the pressure. So your mind's going to be affected by it. Greater pressure affects lower pressure. So if your mind has lower pressure because you walk around with the devil's mind, right? See, this will either crush your mind or reorganize your mind. It'll be a constructive reorganization or a destructive reorganization. It's going to crush your mind or reorganize your mind. But it's going to have an effect one way or other, because this pressure is greater, right? And we're at a point of threshold for our nation. That's why at this point our nation is going to be transformed in a twinkling of an eye. Because we're at a threshold point, right? Where you be, if you can't handle it, you're gonna be crushed to dust. That's all the demons. Otherwise, you're gonna be transformed. That's what an angel will do. But somebody had to release it. See, you have Adam, you have to split the atom to release all the energy. So it said, Lamb had taken, break those seals, release all the energy. That wasn't for Rod to do. Rod has a whole different mission altogether. To protect us, he got a will. That's a technical side of the situation. This is a spatial side of the situation. So energy in there. So every time you unlock a piece of it, break one of those seals, unlock everything, unlock one of those things. You really, and even you, if you go in there, every time you go in, you have a power. I'm giving you the power to split out of yourself. That's what it says. It says he gave all who would listen the power to be sons and daughters of God. Because every time you go in there and figure one of those things out, not because I told you, but you figure it out yourself, then you split it out yourself. I'm giving you the power to be atomic bomb scientist, right? To split atoms. Because if you're just going to repeat what I say, okay, you haven't split it out, but that's helpful, right? But if you go in and split that yourself, right? Bam, all that energy, you become a nuclear warrior, so to speak. That's why I just sent one person with that nuclear explosion for that reality, because it changes the reality. Problem, how much change that reality there for 1,000 years with just the Quran. But it only had power enough to change reality for 1,000 years. But it had a negative effect because it put so much pressure on the Europeans that they was able to transform to a point where the Quran had no impact on them anymore. But the angel is crushing. It's the crushing blow. It will crush them. They cannot withstand the pressure of the angel. Cannot withstand it. See? That would say every time he broke one of those seals, all these things begin to happen. They ain't just happen just because somebody prophesies it. You got to break those seals, release that energy. See, it's just too powerful. That's why the book, nobody, 2,000 years said that nobody could split it. Nobody could split those atoms. A-T-T-O-M-S. Nobody could split them. It took Suleiman to do it. You see? That means you have to have, you can't split an atom unless you're strong enough to withstand the pressure yourself. So that's what I said. He was worthy. He had to be strong enough to withstand the pressure himself. Because release it, if he wasn't strong enough, it'd crush him too. What good would that be? Elijah Muhammad had to be strong enough to withstand the pressure that the information that Farad gave him. Otherwise, it would have crushed him too. You see it crushed Farrakhan. He's crushed. He's back there and whatever. He's a demon he couldn't withstand anyway. That's why he don't talk about it. He comes with all these philosophies. Remember, he's off the mathematical standard. He's in philosophies and Scientology, all kind of crap, because he can't get on the mathematical standard. You understand, brothers and sisters? That's what's happening. And you might not pay attention, they might pay attention, but the point is that this information, right, is changing reality. It's going to change it thoroughly. See? It's going to change the reality. What reality? It's going to change reality of our existence here. It's going to put us back where we're supposed to be, back on top of civilization. Then we get another book that takes us to the next reality. Another book takes us to higher reality. And we keep on going. See? And I'm going to say a little something right here. I'm not going to go a lot of details, so something I know you're going to have questions, right? So we're going to talk about it. What we get, I'll talk about in a minute. So I'll leave, I do have it on here. So you understand, that's the purpose of the angel, purpose of all the scriptures. They're atom bombs, A-T-T-O-M, right? They change reality, pressure, because the words is that stored up energy. Allegorical language is a way of storing energy. We said, that's energy stored up because you got to release, you got to figure it out. It means you got to be powerful enough to figure it out. Because if you can't figure it out, then it won't harm you. Because, right, if you can't, well, unless it's split. If it's just sitting there and nobody split it and nobody can figure it out, then it's just sitting there. It's like an atom. We have atoms all around us, right? But if somebody split them, all of a sudden you got an explosion. So it's sat there for 2,000 years. Nobody could, if somebody did it 500 years ago, they would change reality 500 years ago. But it said it would take somebody, it would take somebody strong enough during this period of time, right, to come forward and be able to do that. And it's changed. It's changing reality right now. The enemy's on their knees right now. America's on its knees. No one could have brought America on its knees. So, well, it's different. Yeah, okay. It tells you where it comes from. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay, we're going to say something quick here. This idea of Son of Man. See, people tell, oh, well, Elijah Muhammad said what Son of Man was. He was guessing. He didn't know the angel. He said, he called Farad the Son of Man. When you look at it, Farad could not possibly be the Son of Man because look at all the things said about the Son of Man, and it could not possibly be Farad. And we look at the scripture because you have to go with the angel. Angel is a time for the book for right now. So accept or reject it. I'm not trying to convince anyone. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So talk about as a lightning striker. Now you have the so-called New Testament, and you have Mark, Luke, Matthew, those different books, and you got to pay attention to those books. The reason why they say, well, they're all saying the same thing. No, not quite. They all say the same thing, saying different ways. So you have to take and reference them to make sure you get it right. Because remember, that's part of the way to seal it. Because they say something, but then you have to compare what they said to Mark. They put all three together, right, to find out what they're really saying. So one of the things about this lightning strike from the east even to the west. Like I said, I'm really using part of this to go into the angel to show you the angel explains everything. That's part of what we're trying to do here, right? Okay. So when you go into Mark, Mark says one way, Luke says another way, and Matthew says another way. See? So Elijah Muhammad is part of it. Says, well, lightning strike from east even to the west. Okay, well, you look at it that way, but when you go and look at what Mark and other one says, then you put it together and it says, let's look at this. See? Compare the two. As lightning strike from the east as far as the west. But the other one says, as lightning striketh from one part of heaven to the other. Okay, when you look at the angel, then you see what they're talking about. Because when you see here, you see lightning at the bottom down there where it says Levi, that's the bottom. That's where heaven starts. How do you know that? Because in chapter 19, it tells you those the witnesses, they're called mid-heaven. The mid-heaven will be between the earth and the heavens. And under them will be the earth. So that's where heaven starts. And it ends up top there where it says the elect. Those are the heavens. So you put that, then you understand what they mean. It says lightning strike from east even to the west. So that means you have, we see the sun there. I didn't put all this, I kind of messed that one up too, right? Those you study angel knows that he's down there where Levi are. I'm not going to change it now. He's there, that's where he is, right? And so it says that lightning, one part of heaven, out of one part of heaven, right? So that's what that's the lightning right there until right there. So he goes from there to the top. So it's talking about that one. Talking about Suleiman. Because that's where Son of Man comes from. It's Latin. Suleiman. Right? You gotta be careful that man part. They use that lots of times. And demon, right? Half man, half devil. That's what demon is. Half man, half devil. Demon. Son of Suleiman. Right? Son, Su is soul. That's even in Spanish. Su, soul is son. Su of man. Suleiman is where it comes from. Suleiman was David's son. David is Farad, right? He's a spiritual son. He would be the high priest. He would be the guide. He would be the light in the kingdom. But Farad would be the God. He's sat on the throne and rule it. So I thought I'd pass it on to you, brothers and sisters. Okay. So this is pretty much the same thing. Have a little more, but I don't think I'm going to that. I think that was a little extra. Yeah, we'll leave that there for now. Okay, we're going to talk about the cross. Let me make sure I'm not going to run into a problem here. Okay, no, I leave it like that. Okay. Talking about the cross. Now, I was talking to a sister the other day, and I was telling her that all this stuff is right in front of your face. Once you understand, start studying angel, understand how it works. All these things right there. And I was showing how you could look at all those parables and everything, and you understand them. You can map them right into the angel key perfectly and understand exactly what it's talking about. So we talk about this cross, right? Not change anything, right? So here you go. Let's move, let's see. Okay, something got missed out of place here. Let's see what's going on there. Okay, this is where Suleiman, right, goes down to the NOI, right? This is at the point, let me back up here. What's happening here is the war is taking place. Okay, let me back. That's what happened. That was happening. This situation where the war is taking place, America falls Israel, and Britain's been kicked out of the Middle East. The witnesses have moved. They're also called the rod of iron. That's Farad's rod of iron. Okay, the war is taking place. They kicked them out of the Middle East, right? That's where they were. Then they kicked them out. Okay. Okay, so now As a result of kicking them out, this is where Babylon falls. Okay? And Suleiman's there. Because when it happens, it says he's going to come to the NOI. Because NOI is going to be under attack. That's what it means by Gog is over top of, Magog is over top of the Levi, which are the NOI. And that's an area there too. I'm going to fix this. Because I can't let that be like that. Can't let it be like that. Okay, that's the one. Okay, there you go. Okay. Okay, there you go. So America and Britain, that's Gog and Magog, they're attacking the blacks, right? So basically, what happens to America happens to Britain. I know it's kind of complicated, but they've been attacked. All the blacks in America have been attacked. In Britain also, but primarily here in America, all the blacks have been attacked. Okay? Don't care whether demon or not, they attack. That's what it's attacked, because it says this is that's why they overland them. They've been attacked. So that's when Suleiman will come to the defense of the nation of Islam. They will listen then. He's coming to clean it up. He was rejected the first time he came, but now he comes. He's the one with the coming full of soap, right? He's a messenger of the covenant. So he suddenly comes to clean up the NOI and protect them, right? Get them ready to remove the demons, right? And prepare them to go through the tribulation. That's what this means right here. Okay, but when we talk about the cross, see, I show you outline here. That's the cross. Now he's on the cross. See, because he's been attacked too. They attacked Islam. He's there to guide them. See, because Lion Farrakhan, he's either gone by then or he's in the wind. He's a coward. They'll be leaderless. See? Now they're going to listen. So that's what it means. Now he's on the cross there. Right? I should have put him down a little more, but right? But that's his son, right? He's on the cross right there. Right? Okay. And so that's he's put to death, because remember the Oriental countries also called death. Also, Oriental countries also called death. So he's put to death. That's what he's talking about, not physically dead. That's what he's talking about. It's angel language. So he's put to death. Right? So he's on the cross. Right? Now he says that there was two on the cross with him. That's the demon and the Levi, or the nation of Islam. That's the saint and the chaff and the wheat. They're on the cross with him. You see that? See? And it says that he tells one of them, right? Because they believe in him, they accept him, right? One accepted him, and he says, well, you will be with me in paradise this day. So he tells him he's going to be in paradise with him. Read the story. That's what's going on here. And then it says what? It says he was pierced by a sword in his side. That's the four winds. That's two. I'm just showing two of them there. Because that's also, this also, if you understand angel, the bottom two winds right there also called a sword. There were two swords that came out of his mouth, right? The mouth would be here. We see where the demon is, the fire gun right there. That would be the mouth, right? And so the sword came out of his mouth, you see. So that's a sword. So he said he was pierced by a sword while he was on the cross. That's what it's talking about, brothers and sisters. That event in the past never happened like they tell you. This is what it's talking about. That's the cross right there. That's got the black dotted lines show you. That's the cross right there, right? Okay, then what happens? That's the rest of the four winds, right? Then the resurrection, right? It says the four winds blow, then they came together, all came together. But it tells you, said the chaff and the wheat came together all at the same time. But the chaff was separated from the wheat, and chaff was thrown back into the fire, right? There you go, right? And then Levites, they're in heaven with Suleiman as he promises, you will be in heaven with me this day. There you go, brothers and sisters. That's it. Hope you understand. See, I'm not going to explain it. I explained it day 3. I'm not going to that here. I explained it other time before. That's it. That's the story. For your eyes all the time. I'm not changing anything. Those that follow this, I'm not changing the sequence of events, anything. I'm just showing you how those stories are angel stories, and you have to understand the angel to understand them. Okay, here's another one. David and Goliath. How does the angel explain that one? See? Yes, the angel explains that one. Now, what's the story of David and Goliath? The story of David and Goliath is that it was David, right? And yet Goliath is powerful. There's a lot of stories about Goliath. I'm not going into all the details, but Goliath represents false Israel. He had 4 brothers, right? They all had 6 fingers, right? That gets into the other 4 other nations. Always had 6 wings, right? So the first 4 brothers was America, Britain, Russia, and Europe. And each one of them, if you those see diagrams where they have the nations inside of those, that's what it's talking about, right? And God himself has 6 wings, right? 6 fingers. So that's right. So he has his 6 fingers. Uh, Iran, Syria, America, Britain, um, Russia, and EU. Anyway, so this story of David and Goliath. So it was Goliath and David and Goliath. Now David had 5 smooth stones. Now the 5th stone he used to take that to slay Goliath, because he hit him in the head with him and then decapitate him. Right? He had 5 stones, 5 smooth stones. Right? Elijah Muhammad said, well, that's the 5 principles of Islam. That's where he looked at it. But I'm sure what the angel says about it. He had 5 smooth stones. The 5th one he took, and that's the one he took in a slingshot. He took a slingshot. Why take a slingshot? And hit him in the head with that stone and knocked him out, and it cut his head. So we see what that means here. Okay. Remember that there's the fifth that stone right there, that's the 5th one, right? Remember the 5th one goes first. I haven't changed anything. The 5th one is the first one to go, blow, and that's where he's at between the witnesses. Sackcloth, right? That's a slingshot, sackcloth, a stone between cloth. That's what a slingshot is, right? Show that here. Anyway, that's what a slingshot is, right? Maybe some of y'all too young to know what a slingshot is. We was kids, we knew what a slingshot was, right? Just play with slingshots when I was a kid. Right? So here's your sling, right? And you put a stone in it, in the middle of it, right? See? Usually a white piece of cloth, sackcloth, right? Slingshot, boom. I don't know if you can see that or not. That's where it is, right? So he aimed it at Goliath's head. Bam! See that? Hope you get it, brothers and sisters. Sling at his head and decapitate him. Cut his head off. Gone. Again, angel explains all, brothers and sisters. And that show you who Farad is again. It tells you that story, but also tells you Farad is David. Okay? There's a Suleiman is David's spiritual son. It's actually more than that, actually. But I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. Brass serpent. What's that all about? In Exodus, talk about this brass serpent. It says that the loose serpents, there was loose serpents, they was biting the people. They was biting the people, right? And the people was angry, and they kept telling Moses, do something, do something. These serpents biting us. And Moses said, was your faith the reason that why they're doing that, right? It's your lack of faith and everything, right? So he said, okay. He put a brass serpent on a pole, and said, anyone that you have to look up to it, look up to it. If you look up to it, the serpent won't bother you anymore. That's a story. You can go in more detail, but that's a story. So you have to go into Daniel a little bit for this one, because who is brass? You had a statue, gold, silver, brass, and iron. You say, what? Gold, silver, brass, and iron. So what does that mean? Why in that category? Why that order? Because gold and silver, those are precious metals. But brass can be a fool's gold, because you can polish up brass real good, you make people think it's gold. Maybe fool somebody, sell to them and tell them it's gold. Same thing with iron, because that silverware that you have is not made of silver, it's made of iron. But you can fool somebody, say, you can make it look like silver. So what it's telling you is that you got the brass are pretending to be the gold. We're the gold. That's false Israel. That's how you know who the brass is. See, these symbols also are used in Injil. Same, because brass, right? So that's what it means. So that brass is false Israel, pretending to be us, identity theft. And iron represents the Caucasians who were pretending to be the Africans. So when were they pretending to be Africans? Well, didn't they say Egypt was all white? Carthaginians, Hannibal, all these people. They were saying for a long time, they had people thinking that those are white folks. See? That's what that's all about. So now we know who the brass is, right? But then the serpents. Well, the serpents, in this case, are European countries, because they're the little serpents. So it would be somebody, right? So they would put a brass serpent. So this brass serpent would be a European that's Jewish. That would be the brass serpent. He'd be on a stick. That's your cross. That's your false Jesus. That's what it's talking about. And the demons, they're the Christians. They're the Christian blacks. They're the chaff. They're not original. They're slave masters' children. Remember, they said they had to look up. They'd look up at it. They'd look up at it. Anyone look up at it, so they was below it. They look up. They look at it, and they worshipped it, right? And the other servants wouldn't bother no more. So they say, hey, I'm a Christian. They don't bother you no more. You're a Christian. Oh, you see? You understand it? See? They don't want to talk about I'm a Muslim because they feel they're going to be persecuted. I'm a Christian. They make it quick. I'm Christian. They're hoping that if they say they're Christian, that the white folks won't bother them anymore. That's what that's all about. It's right there. See? The brass serpent on the cross. So we're talking about the cross in two ways here. It explains both of them. See? So the demon's looking up. Hey, you got the head, look up. Remember the head, look up. Read it. So they look up, they worship Jesus, this false Jesus, right? And other servants won't bother me anymore. I'm a Christian. Okay. Okay, this gets a little complicated. I'm not going into a lot of detail here because I'm not. I definitely can't go into a lot of detail here. This requires a whole different. This requires a whole presentation, maybe many presentations. But Hebrews 7, read it. Talk about Melchizedek. It says, "Had neither beginning of days nor end of life, nor mother nor father." So this gets into the situation where we're told that the original man was self-created. Now they tell you that particular way because they know, again, that our minds were weak and we can't accept, we can't understand something that exists forever. I mean, that never had any beginning. See, because we got analytical software. Analytical software has a beginning. I mean, you can't imagine. Something has to have a starting point. See, but you have a circle. There's no starting point on a circle, right? But a line, you have a starting point. That's what they think. Because circle is a spatial way of looking at things. But spatial circle way of looking at things, you know? Circle, like the circle, that's a spatial way of looking at things, right? But a line is a analytical way of looking at things. And that has a beginning and an end. Okay. So I had to tell you that way because the way you understand it would be. See? But the fact is we were not self-created. We've always been here. We always will be here. There's no time we've never been here. But the universe just expands and contracts without end. It never started and will never end. And this conversation having with you, we've had this conversation over, it's no number of times because it's always been. It keeps repeating itself. That's one of the reasons why you want to make this life the best you can because you're going to repeat this over and over again for eternity without end. I know it's hard for some of you to relate to, but that's the fact. See, the universe open and close, and it just does it. Nobody started it. Nobody can ever end it. I can't end it. I couldn't end it if I wanted to. It can't be ended. We can't destroy ourselves. We can't destroy His creation, right? We can only give form to it. See? But it goes without end. Just continue to go on without. See? Because if it says it had no birth record, it had no beginning or no end, that means it had no beginning. Because if we self-created ourselves, that means that would have been the beginning, wouldn't it? But what happened is, when the Quran tells you that everything returns to Allah. So that means you had to, it says all life came from one being. Who's that one being? That one being is the original one man. It's hard to even say a man because he was genderless. There's that one being, right? But he said, well, where did he come from? Okay, I'm gonna talk this briefly. We go backwards in this thing. Okay, here we are in this position. We're at the universe where it's fully expanded, right? We didn't die. We went through a point of energy deprivation, right? That's what we're talking about Jesus. That's another reason why I say Jesus died and came back to life. That's us, right? We died spiritually, right? But as universe started from, all life came from. So in other words, okay, let's go back. I'm bouncing back and forth and trying to explain this. Okay, let's start from where the universe start expanding, right? As expand, that means expand. It means all the life that you see, all life out there. The Quran says all life came from the one being. So, right? So all the life you see, plant life, animal life, virus, whatever, all that came from that one being. So all those attributes was in that first being. All those attributes was in that first being, all of it. But we had a form we have right now because we took those attributes out and we perfected this form. We've always been perfect, but we perfected this form we are right now. We always had 2 legs, 2 arms, right? But the point is we perfected this form we have right now because one time, remember, male and female was one being. But we see the science because we have breasts, we don't need them. The males don't need them, but they have them because that means we was genderless one time, was one being. So all those things, lions, cattle, zebras, plant life, all that stuff. Yeah, that's plant life. All that stuff came from us. And as it came from us, we took those things out. We perfect this form. So now that's why so when you see all this here, that's all a part of us. That's why it's all connected. See? So as the time until eventually it started out with simple beings, first simple. microbes and things like that, right? Then plant life, and then fish life, and then reptiles and mammals, whatever. That's more complicated. Until at the end, we produce the most complicated being at all, one similar to us. It says, we rose a beast out of earth that could speak to us, a speaking beast, almost like us. See, mankind, the most complicated. But at Christ says everything will return to alignment in. So it was as we start going back to the beginning again, right? If you want to call it the beginning, right? We're going to bring all these attributes back into us again. So there's going to be a time, we will be genderless again. And we go back further and further and further into time, back further and further and further to close to the beginning, right? Because the pressure is increasing. But as the pressure increases, some of us won't be able to handle the pressure. And it gets down to the point where only one person can handle the pressure. Because the whole universe is collapsed. Not collapsed, but contracted to the size of the atmosphere of the Earth. It's the greatest star ever. But all that energy, atoms moving at 24 billion miles per second. See, the pressure is so intense. See, that that original being, he the only one can survive it. And the only way he can survive it, he has to move into. He's the only one ever been in the center of the earth, the core of the earth. See, because we was fire in the beginning. That's what Iblis is telling you. He was made of fire. It was fire in the beginning. Everything came from fire, because that's what hydrogen is, fire. That's the basic element, atom. Everything is fire. Hydrogen is fire. Oxygen is fire. See. So he was the only one that could survive all that intense pressure. And he was the only way he could do it, he had to go into the center of the earth to do it. And he's the only one ever been in the center of the earth. Only one ever could survive the core of the earth. And it was hotter even then than it is now. He's the only one to survive it. See? Nobody knows how long he was there. Because there was no sun to measure time. We measure time by the sun. And any place is a time perception anyway. So a million years could have passed for him. It might have been a million years for him. He might have thought a million years might be a second. You know, for his consciousness, his time perception. You understand time perception. Like if things you're feeling good, time moves fast. If you're feeling bad, time is really slow. So we don't know. But he was there a long time from our perspective. We don't know how long it was from his perspective. Right? So then he started giving form to the universe, because it was just energy at that point. He started giving form. He combined oxygen, because the whole atmosphere was just gases. Hydrogen, to bring water, start cooling the earth off. We lived in the ocean for a while. See, as he moved out, then he started spreading, started reproducing, right? He lived in the ocean for a while. And eventually we came to that. That's why it says, the maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Cream, why do I say cream of the planet Earth? Because cream rises from the bottom to the top. So who's at the bottom? Where's the bottom of the earth? The center of the earth. You understand, brothers and sisters? Those lessons tell you everything you need to know. They dismiss it because they don't understand them. That would say the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. And didn't say we created it, say we made it. Maker, owner. We didn't create, we didn't make it, we didn't create it, we made it. It's our womb. Earth was our womb. So we made it. That means we gave it form. Even Genesis tell you that. So we moved to the oceans, right? First we had to make the oceans, right? Combine fire, that's oxygen and hydrogen, that's how you get water from. Water comes from fire. Because you take separate, you get fire. You get hydrogen and oxygen. You put them together, you get water. Cool it off. Then you live in the ocean for a while. And then after a while, he put a sun out there. Where's the sun? Sun is all hydrogen. He took hydrogen, put it together, and made the sun. So now he heated, right? So now, put the sun there, so now he can move on to the land. Then we moved on to the land, and we've been on here ever since. See? But then populations, increase. See? But so we never died. See? He just went there, he was there. And the thing is remember, there, his mind, remember, your brain is pressure. Thought is pressure. That's what thought is. Thought is pressure. That's how you express your thought, by pressure, by talking. Thought is pressure. I'm not going into a lot of detail with it. But the point is if thought is pressure, his thought The pressure, his pressure, had to be equal to the pressure of all the universes. Because if his pressure wasn't, then he would have got crushed. Right? So he had to have enough wisdom. He had to reorganize. He had to come to constructive reorganization, right, to handle the pressure, the total force of the universe on us. So once he done that, then he was equal, so it didn't bother him anymore. So that means he's a God of the universe because he can understand the entire universe because both pressures are equal. But his pressure is consciousness. That means he's conscious of the whole universe. God of the universe. You understand, brothers and sisters? That's what that means. I'm going to leave it there. I'm trying to bring these lessons to you to understand because you ain't going to get that. When you get Farrakhan, what Farrakhan, all Farrakhan's got is shit he pull out his ass, he call it honey. That's all he got. And unless you got COVID and you can't smell, even if you can't smell, you should be able to smell that. Because I mean, his stuff is really stinking these days. It's been stinking all the time. But boy, whoo. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, brothers and sisters, I think we covered a lot of stuff. I said it's going to be kind of lengthy. I'm not sure how long it's been, but I hope you understand. I try to cover a lot of stuff, trying to show you what's going on, trying to understand who you are, who your God is, where you come from. So you don't be stuck in this mystery God, illusion stuff, illusion Christian, the matrix, illusion metric, illusion matrix. You understand where you came from, what's going on, right? Some of who your enemies are, how the angel, what the angel does, why it does what it does, how you can become, right, an atom splitter. It says those who are listening, he gave them the power to become sons and daughters of God. That means now you can split the atoms. I'm giving you all kinds of information. Then you have to go in there and study them. But that means you have to get your mind strong enough, right? See, to split the atom. Otherwise, it consume you too. So I hope this has been informative, brothers and sisters. So I've been playing this for quite some time, right? And I really truncated it. I didn't go into much detail as I want to because what I really want to talk about probably took several hours. But I think I covered a lot of stuff. I think I mentioned it before. I want to talk about the creation, where the first God came from. It's always been here. See? We've always been here. We always will be here. That's why it says no beginning, no end, no birth record. See, because we had started. See, that's why KV, they tell you, oh, well, the Big Bang. So they say the whole universe started from a big explosion, but they can't tell you what happened before that. See, because they have a starting point, because they say they think linearly. They think analytically. They think linearly. That means straight line. So they have to, their mind have to have a start. But you say, well, if that was a big explosion, what caused the explosion? See, they can't answer that. See, if you explain that, well, what caused that? What caused, you keep going back forever, right? But it's just like a circle. Just keep going on forever. So we've always been here, we always will be here, right? But the original being, the one, we're the original beings. We're from the family of that original person, right? See, and it tells you the God, right? That direct, that seed is kept. Elijah Muhammad says seed carried on from direct generation to generation. So seed, that original one, right, still exists. It always will exist, right? Because come back to it, and that seed, in this time in our history, is put into two people. It's split in two parts: the analytical part and the spatial. That seed, and the original seed was both ambidextrous, literal and spatial, analytical and spatial. But in this period of time, it'd be split into two: analytical God and the spatial God. Not these are analytical gods, but the point is, remember, they are the extreme because there's no control. Remember, we always had control over the analytical mind for trillions of years. So we have it now. We still have the analytical one and the spatial one. Spatial one is the priest. Analytical one is the God. That's why I call them Father and Son, because they're one, but they're two sides of it. This is the only time in history that happens. Eventually, it'll come back to be one again. But in this time in history, it was split into two: the analytical and the spatial. I said I would be some kind of relationship between what's the relationship between Suleiman and Farad. That's the relationship because that's the seed. From that original one, that's the direct seed. See, we all parts of it, but the direct, the core. That's what that means. That's what that's all about. You understand? See, that's why. Well, I'm not going into any more detail about that, but that's what that means. See, so when we start going back, next time we start going back in, then the weaker ones of us, they're not going to make it all the way back to the all the way. They're not. I mean, not going to be punished or die. I mean, not going to punish or when anything like that. It's not going to make the person become some great. And like Christ says, when they do die, they'll be dying and all praise. They'll die in paradise and preach. They won't have no problem with it, right? They'll be dying giving praise because they're dying in perfect um, bliss. They just can't take the pressure anymore. The pressure is just too great. Until we get down to the end, there's only one person can stand that pressure. Only one. That's that first God. He's the only one who can withstand the pressure of total contracted universe. The only one could do it. That means that he had to go down to the center of the universe, right? Center of the earth, right? Earth has always been here. The Bible tells you that Earth has always been here. There's never time Earth wasn't here. Earth's our womb. And he's the only one to go down in the center, the only one ever been there. Only one ever know what it's like. I've been there. See, they survive it. That's why I said they don't understand on Quran. That's why Iblis says they think that's some kind of allegorical stuff. Iblis says, no, you made me a fire. He's original. You made me a fire. See, because we was fire. Fire. If it says everything came from water, then how could he made a fire unless he was before the water? The Quran says all life came from water. So if he was made of fire, it means he had to come. And he's life, right? He had to come before the water. Because it was all fire in the beginning. That's what he's trying to tell you. So you got to understand the Quran. Okay, brothers, says, hope you understand. 2021, hope you prepare for it. This is not a great time. It's a great time for us. It's a great time, but there's going to be some dark days ahead, brothers and sisters. And if you're not prepared, you're going to be overwhelmed. That's why you need the angel. Because if you don't have the angel, you will be overwhelmed. That's the only light that can withstand, you understand? Because it's the light that's actually firing all this up. It's the only light that's firing all this up. If you don't have this light, you're going to be crushed by it. If you don't have a light angel, you'll be crushed by the angel. Because the angel is crushing this world. Because they cannot withstand it. Like the Quran crushed, well, it didn't actually crush it, but it was able to throw the Europeans in a dark age for 1,000 years. This is going to destroy them altogether. Okay, brothers and sisters, 2021, came in with a bang. Insurrection, and you see what they're doing now. They're so nervous. See, they're on the verge of martial law. So remember what I told you. The only choice Biden's got. Now, people are nervous. They think Trump might pull a trigger on Iran before he leaves out. But either way, there'll be a war very soon because they're not going to. Now, I got the video here. They're not going back to GCPOA. Not going to do it. I showed you. So if they do, then you know I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. So they're not going back to that. That means they got to go to war. And that war is when everything changes. It's ignited. See. Okay, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum.